Hi all! Everything in my video is pulled from the public domain, and I am using them under the Fair Use, Fair Dealings guidelines. Everything I say is my own opinion. You should look into this information for yourselves, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Good morning, everybody. You know, we have a lot to cover today, but let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to cover the working royals. Then I'm not going to cover the whole trial from yesterday, the whole day in court, because there's just too much. But we're going to cover on some massive major things, and we're going to go from there, okay? Just to show you what's really going on in court, because it is not good for Harry, let me just tell you. All right, let's jump in there. Let's go. To start with, this really was just the dumbest thing I'd ever saw, but I'm going to put it there. They're saying that Prince Andrew was in a car trying to get around a dog walker. The dog walker was completely oblivious to the fact that there was a car behind him, much less that it was Andrew in the car behind him, and it made Andrew laugh. Okay, at least something's making him laugh. Okay, moving on. Princess Eugenie, I just want to point out that the new name for her baby, everybody wondered where it came from. Well, the name George was the grandfather of the late Queen, and Ernest was one of his middle names. So the first middle name, George, is for Jack's late father and the baby's grandfather, George Brookbanks, who died in 2021 after COVID, and Ronnie is after Ronald Ferguson, Fergie's late father. All right, moving on to Princess Catherine. She went to visit the Windsor Family Hub. I just want to make sure I say that right. This is in Berkshire, and she took place in a workshop, and she was joking that she was going to pick up some tips learning about baby massage. She joined in with playtime for children. She handed out toys. She picked them up and was giving them, snuggles. You know that she's totally in her element with this sort of thing. So the first thing she did when she arrived at the center was she sat down with the mothers, and they used that area to meet up every week and swap advice, parental advice. So Catherine met some of the children. She handed out, toys and baskets, and, typical Catherine. At one point, she sat on the floor and she was squeezing on a doll, and she said, "Oh, I just love the, quote, squidgy legs of babies." And at one point there was a man there, and apparently everybody busted out laughing because Catherine said that it was good to see a man among the women who were being instructed on how to massage their babies. I just think that's hilarious. Now, after they were done massaging the babies, then Catherine joined a stress management class where she opened up once again about the importance of mental health. And she said, these classes are so beneficial because, let's be honest, if you're mentally disturbed, how can you help your children? But, these are great tips that you guys have, and then you pass them on to your children. And she also talked about normalizing emotion. We all have different emotions. We all have to know how to cope with them and to be able to share them safely in a safe space. And, it's a good shift. And Catherine asked if people feel like there's a change culturally to be able to freely speak about your emotions, and the group said, definitely. I think that's very nice. All right, let's move on. All right. Next up, we have the Duchess of Edinburgh, not princess, but she should be, Sophie. She went to visit the Shooting Star Children's Hospice, and this place takes care of, obviously, young people who have, life-limiting conditions. It's located in Guildford. In a lot of ways, Sophie is like Catherine. She is a natural with children. She is a natural with animals. She just gets in there. We all know that hospice is one of her things. She's always supported it. I just love that. And I love the fact that she went there to visit today. Now, while she was there, of course, she planted a tree. I don't think she does the same thing that Charles does and shakes its hand or anything, to wish it good luck. I don't think. think so. Anyway, she looked fabulous, and I was very happy to see her out and about. Moving on. Now, when that ended, Sophie went to visit the Art Venture Trust Limited in Guildford. Now, this charity helps support adults that have physical impairments, autism, and learning disabilities. I just love her. She's just so, I just love her. All right, moving on. Next up, we have King Charles. Now, he was in a town, I hope I say this right, called Viscri. It's the Viscri village in Transylvania region of Romania. I love the fact that he's out of London while this whole thing is going on with Harry. People there were happy to see him. They were giving him flowers. They were chatting him up. I just love, he looks so happy, and relaxed. I love that. All right, let's move on. Next up, this story came out. Again, I told you that Spotify is cutting more jobs. The gentleman who actually did the negotiation and the contract with Meghan Markle is now gone. Yes. He said, well, maybe I was a little too ambitious. Gee, you think? All right. Next up, we know the Netflix deal is gone kaput. So when I saw this, I said, what? It very well could be that the new deal that they signed was for them to be behind the camera. I'll keep an eye on that. And let's not forget that today, Prince Harry's visa challenge happened in federal court. So I've been looking online to see what went on in court today. I haven't been able to find anything today, but I am not going to stop looking, okay? All right, let's move on. So Harry's day in court started out with a cartoonist by the name of Kaya Marr showing up with a picture that showed Meghan on a donkey being led around by Harry carrying a spear in a loincloth. I honestly have no clue what this was about. His comment was that he would have been there yesterday, but his donkey was jet lagged. Like, what? Okay. Then finally, he shows up in court with the paparazzi that he wished he could have seen in New York. He gets out, he's smiling, he looks like he hasn't got a care in the world, which shocked me considering the fact that he was a no-show for court yesterday and he really upset the judge. Okay, so here's my impression. This is what I think happened. I think Harry got into the witness box and this was him. Smiling, confident. Hi, I look great. Let's get in there. Let's get it done. I'm ready. This is what I envisioned. So here we go. First of all, Harry was so soft-spoken they had to ask him to speak up. All right, so one of the things he was talking about, that he was ashamed when he caught the kissing disease in 2002. This was one of his claims, okay? According to Harry, this happened because the Prince of Wales, then Private Secretary Mark Boland, and Piers Morgan were friends. And so it was likely disclosed by him. However, St. James Palace confirmed it. Proof of that, please. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any. Harry also said that kids at school teased him over this. Really? I wonder if it was any worse than he teased the poor teacher that he made fate of for her, deformities. Then Harry brought up where he apparently had flirted with another girl, and the article said that Chelsea Davy was very upset. Now, the magazine says that the information came from prior reports that were already in the public domain, and that the speculation that was in the article. So the magazine speculated that, maybe Chelsea Davy was going to drop him. She was upset about the Nazi uniform, which Harry also didn't take responsibility for. They said it was so trivial, it didn't warrant reasonable expectation of privacy. Though the next thing Harry says is, the tabloids incited hatred towards me by making me look bad. I was just like, my jaw was dropping. So listen to what the news had to say about this.
Telling a packed courtroom in his hacking case against Mirror Group newspapers that he was portrayed as the playboy prince, the failure, the dropout, or in my case, he said, the thicko, the cheat, the underage drinker, and the irresponsible drug taker.
Now let's not forget that in the spare, he admitted that he was an underage drinker and an irresponsible drug taker, and he had been accused of cheating at school. So basically what he's saying is this is the tabloid's fault, but it continues.
He went on to say that former editor Piers Morgan had subjected him and his wife Meghan to a barrage of horrific personal attacks and intimidation.
No, I'm not sure why that was even allowed in, because the issues with Piers Morgan and Harry and Meghan have absolutely nothing to do with the phone hacking trial. Nice chance, though, to, get a light jab in there at the end. All right, let's look at something else. They start talking to Harry about the phone hacking that started, years earlier, 1996, only to find out that Harry didn't get his first mobile phone till 1998. You can just imagine the air that literally deflated Harry at that point. How about the fact that Harry's team said the article where some information came out about his mother visiting him at school had actually been released by the palace? Harry also took swipes at the UK government while he was there. Remember, he's not supposed to be political. And he said, quote, "At the moment, our country is judged globally by the state of our press and our government, both of which I believe are at rock bottom." What? Well, I agree with according to Taz. I think he threw that in there because he's mad because he's losing his bid for security. Now, Mr. Green pointed out that there was really no need for the Daily Mirror to use unlawful means because the majority of the stuff that they published had already been published in the Daily Mail and in other newspapers before they ever published it. This was one of the biggest exchanges that got me because the article in the Mirror talked about Harry having lunch with friends, and they said, people are invited to call in to the paper if they spot someone famous. And Harry would have walked down the street to get there, and Harry responds, "I don't walk down the street." Recollections may vary. I have to tell you that I'm really surprised at this point that Harry's attorney, let it get this far. Harry is being made to look like a drugged up fool. How did it get this far, you guys? How did it get this far? Let's look at this. Harry is complaining because it was in the news that he broke his thumb. And he's saying, you hacked that. And the Mirror is saying, there were prior reports in the public domain. It had already been disclosed that you had broken your thumb. It had been reported on the night before by the Evening Shade, the Evening Mail, and the Edinburgh Evening News. Now, it was also confirmed or disclosed by the palace. So then Harry was asked, well, did you complain to the other papers or the BBC? And Harry goes, well, no. Then they moved on to another complaint Harry had. It was about an article which focused on his 18th birthday party. And come to find out, the information for that was given to the press by Harry in an interview. He'd forgotten about it. Then there was Harry's complaint about an article that came out that he was going rock climbing instead of attending a pageant. And Harry goes, "You hacked my phone for that." And the person pointed out that it was already in the public domain and had been published in the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday before the Daily Mirror ever did. That's where they got the information from. Now, I have to agree with this comment by Evans Einstein. Harry then started talking about his mother, and he admitted on the stand that Diana was having an affair 2 years after he was born, 10 years before her death, 6 years before her legal separation, that she was sleeping with other people, including married men. He is not doing his mother's memory any favors. And just to show you his level of paranoia, he claimed that those tabloid rumors were a plan to oust him from the family. Yes, somehow the royals were in on it. They were feeding the tabloids, leaking and planting, and it was all to get him thrown out of the family. Right. Let's not forget that Harry's made millions out of leaking and planting, etc., etc. How about this article? Harry was complaining that they shared private details of him being invited to be a godfather to the son of his former nanny, Tiggy Leg Burke. But come to find out, it was her or her husband who gave the information to the tabloids. So it comes out that he admits he has a long-standing hostility, towards the tabloid. He's also claiming that all the missing phone data and all the evidence that he needs for his case isn't there because it's been destroyed. Now, I have to agree with Unlikely Bot. I think he threw his legal team right under the bus because he basically inferred that they told him what articles had been hacked, they did the checking, and if he doesn't recall the details, how does he know that this stuff is correct? I completely agree with this Twitter user. They're eating him up and they're spitting him out, and he's claiming distress from articles that he hasn't even read. Does anybody else find that, just a smidge odd? Maybe it's just me. Let me just tell you one of the biggest things that I've gotten out of day one so far. Harry has no clue what's going on, and Chelsea Davy was the love of his life, and he's lost her because she was upset about the Nazi uniform, she was upset about the lap dances, she was upset about him flirting with other people. It had nothing to do with the tabloids. Now, I have to agree at this time with the Royal News Network. Harry doesn't have answers to questions, and any stories that he doesn't like, he says were gathered through nefarious means because otherwise he just doesn't know how they were gotten. I mean, as she pointed out, this is about facts, not your feelings, and you cannot make accusations and then not have proof, which is essentially what's going on here. Now, there was one part where things got really heated because Mr. Green was still talking to Harry about his injured thumb, and he said, "Where did the stuff come from?" And Harry goes, "Well, it came from both phone hacking and unlawful means." And when he was asked, he goes, "Well, I can't be sure. It might have been my father's phone." And Mr. Green goes, "That's not an answer." Harry goes, "The doctors? I don't know." And Mr. Green goes, "Are we not, Prince Harry, in the realms of total speculation?" So what I got out of this is Harry has no proof. Harry is guessing. Harry thinks his phone was hacked, but he can't prove his home was hacked or his phone was hacked. I think this happened, but I'm unsure. It's almost a joke. Like, seriously, this case is going to be over so fast. I have to tell you, even Jack Royston's Sugar Number One came out and said that Harry had backtracked over some of his testimony. And then it came out, Sky News admitted that Harry's attorneys were briefing them live on TV. This case is going to be over before it even really gets started. Well, you guys, this was just day one. I'm going to bring you day two. I'm sure there's going to be more bombshells. I don't think this case is going to go the difference. I think he came off looking really bad. But I want your comments, so put them below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell. Don't forget to go into the description box and find the links to my Twitter, my Getter, my Rumble, my email, my Patreon. My physical address is there in case there's something you want to mail. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund and through the thanks button, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.